All right. Well, first week is in the books. We had an amazing draft, courtesy of myself and all of those who participated, minus Jacob Allen. You could not stop from selling furniture to Amari Cooper and overdrafting him as a result. But hey, if Amari Cooper was in my store, I'd probably draft him high as well because he'd be like telling me to draft him and all that fun stuff. So yeah, don't really blame you there. Yes, I am currently the two-time defending champion and had a tough matchup this week. As many of you know who are at the draft, Joe and I made a little bet, $3 a point, and Joe had Antonio Brown. I had Jordan Reed. Could have turned out any way. Antonio Brown definitely got the best of me. He was my MVP the last 2 years. So, Joe, I'm glad you have Antonio Brown this year. You're going to need him to beat me and avoid the death of yourself. I also have the last place trophy, which most of you saw at the draft and has been aptly named the Tolme for last place. So those of you who are looking to get last place this year, this is what you will have on your car for one full year until next year's loser happens. So that to look forward to. Speaking of losers, yes, I lost, but I still put up 99.5 points. Not a bad showing, to be honest. I would have beat most of you in the league. There's a few of you I wouldn't have beat. Coincidentally, this is very odd, that the top 6 scores in the league all won this week. So the number 1 scoring team was Avery Estrada with 128. Number 2 was Joe Gianosa against me with 126. Number 3 was Chris Alvarez with 118, who also had the lowest rated draft, even though I think that's bizarre. I think his team is pretty good. Number 4 was Joseph Waltz, whose team name is I'm Drafting a Black Guy. Joey, that's inevitable. The NFL is all black guys. Number 5 was Tom Schroeder, Jim Bob Cooter's Wild Rodeo. And number 6 highest scorer was Jacob Allen. So this very rarely happens that the top 6 scorers in the league for the week all win for the week. But it did happen this week. I was the number 7 scorer at 99.5 points, just under 100. So everyone over 100 won. Everyone under 100 didn't win. Speaking of under 100, those of you that got 80 points, like Vic Paredes and Nathan Langley, your teams suck. You guys suck at fantasy football. Like you really do. You should seek professional help. But you should not seek nearly as much professional help as Jameson Jones. Jameson, you realize that if your team played Joe Gianosa last week, you would owe Joe $180 because your team would be so bad. Maybe you shouldn't focus on only the Packers during the football season when you play in 2 pretty high-level fantasy leagues. You are the number 1 contender and ROGO Sportsbook odds to win the Tolme this year. Yes, you're the front runner for winning the Tolme, low in points. Your record's 0-1. I don't know what's wrong with you. And you know what's crazy? You are in the featured matchup next week because you get to face off against number 2 in points, coming off a fresh win against the champion, so he's got all the momentum that he needs. You have to play Joe Gianosa this week in this week's featured matchup. So hopefully later this week, coming to you guys, we may have something for you featuring both Joe and Jameson. Also notable matchups this week are myself versus Chris Alvarez. Now, this is a kind of a heated bowling rivalry. Many of you don't know this except for Avery, that myself and Chris have been bowling against each other since we were like 15. And Chris actually used to bowl right-handed, and he had a hard time with it. Like, he couldn't beat anyone, so he switched to left-handed, and now he's a really good bowler. And for bowling lingo, being left-handed means you cheat, all right? So that's a big matchup this week. The other big notable matchup this week, and I'm actually very much looking forward to this is Avery Estrada, which was our number 1 point getter last week, versus Jacob Allen, the absentee ballot. Okay. Actually, Jacob, you should just name your team the absentee ballot. In fact, I might just manually change that. Okay. Other notable matchup is Nate Langley and Vic Paredes because they're essentially fighting for last place. I mean, we know Jameson is going to lose this week, but these two guys are really fighting to prevent going 0-2. So one of them will be 0-2 after this week. All right. Miscellaneous league announcements. I've been asked about the waiver policy. It's the same as last year where you get today, which is Tuesday, to put in all your claims. And the order is based on previous waivers. So next week, the order will be based on who picked up what and all that fun stuff. It's some stupid formula that ESPN uses. There was also an outage, okay? There was an outage on ESPN. And I'll be the first to apologize that we did not use myfantasyleague.com this year as myfantasyleague.com's commissioner. He got addicted to drugs and he didn't reach out to me this year, and so he had to default to ESPN, and of course there was an outage. I apologize for that. I know Tom Schroeder was the first to let me know that there was an outage by saying, hey, we should really be on myfantasyleague.com. I know, Tom, myfantasyleague.com was a great hosting website. It was the beginning of my championship reign. But alas, we are on ESPN, and I apologize for that. One quick thing, and this has nothing to do with fantasy football. Okay, as bad as Jameson Jones' performance was, did anyone else catch the Monday night game last night? I'm not talking about the real Monday night game where the Steelers and the Redskins faced off. I'm talking about the pathetic excuse for a game that was the 49ers versus the Rams. Yeah, you 49er fans are like, oh my God, the 49ers are going to be awesome this year. No, they're not. They always do good on opening day. In fact, they're the longest win streak in the NFL on opening day. It's like 6 wins in a row. Okay, they beat the Vikings last year handily. Carlos Hyde looked just like he did last night. What I'm saying is, this was a pathetic excuse for an NFL game. Most of the time, I watch NFL on Mondays. I watch Monday Night Football while I'm bowling. I usually get distracted to the point where I forget to bowl. Okay, this game was an excuse for a football game. I'm so mad that we moved the Rams to LA. In fact, we should have moved the Rams to fucking Iraq so they could die, because that was a pathetic game. You Niner fans, I hope you have all the false confidence in the world for winning what was the most miserable to watch game of the season, and it will not be beat. Have a lot of confidence in that, because you root for a team that participated in the worst game of the year. That's all I have to say. Good luck this weekend. We'll see you next week.